Hi, I'm Silicat. I'm from Denmark, and today I'm going to draw this wonderful flower with the sky in the black background. I'm using Polychromos from Faber Castell. Actually, just two different colors. One is earth green and one is magenta. The rest of the pencils I'm going to use is Derwent the Inktense, which are water soluble, and we'll get back to that later. But for now, I'm just making the outline sketching so that I have my lines in order to be able to put the colors down later without losing my drawing. So this is what the polychromos are really good for, because they won't start bleeding out when I add water to the paper. So you can see here I'm just drawing all the details without going too much into shadows or anything. It's just outlines and yeah, it's not really, you can do it freehand, of course, but if you don't feel like doing freehand, you can actually also transfer your drawing to the paper and then just work with the colors after that. And you can see now I have the Derwent Inktense pencils lying there. I'm not going to use a lot of different colors because there's actually not that many colors on this picture. But I add the colors mainly where you see the colors are most intense. There's a lot of white and or not completely white, but really bright. So therefore, I just put the colors in the edge of the flower, so then I can work with the color from the edge to the middle later. In the beginning here, it looks mostly like it's just all really dark, almost like it's black I'm using, but it's not. It will change once I add the water. And it's actually the first time I'm using these Inktense colors or pencils. So it's kind of a test for me also. But I think they are nice to work with. So it was really interesting. I always like to try new materials. And now I have started adding water to the paper. I'm using this funny kind of brush with a container, water container, so that I don't have to dip my brush all the time. I find it easier, especially when it's this kind of pencils I'm using. If I'm using normal watercolor in a pan, I wouldn't do it with this kind of colors. Sorry, I wouldn't do it with this kind of brush. I would use an ordinary brush. But for this, it's a really good thing. And yeah, it's working pretty fast. Yeah, of course, it's high speed, but it's actually a very easy way to work with the water and the colors, I think. It's not that difficult as I expected before I tried it the first time. I should maybe add that normally I have been doing most graphite drawings and also ordinary color pencils. So, but I like to experiment a lot. So I also try lots of other materials just to find out what do I actually like. I've also been using a lot of pastel, and I like that also a lot. But I find it interesting to try new materials and new ways of working with the materials all the time. And I think it's interesting to see others when they are not always completely professional, but also doing something simple, because if you are new to the media yourself, it can be nice to feel that you're not starting out with something completely overwhelming. You won't be able to come to do it when it comes to the end. So this is why I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this quite simple drawing. But even though it's simple, it can still end up being a really nice project and look really great. So it doesn't have to be so advanced to be something you end up being happy about. And you can see here when I used the color from the edges of the petals, it ends up being really a very light color in the middle of the leaves. Um, If you notice, I have this tissue in my right hand, and the reason I have that is because sometimes the brush can get a little bit too wet, or otherwise it can have it has a bit too much color on the tip. So to prevent the area I'm going to paint, I brush away the extra color on the tissue instead of putting it on the paper. It's very useful. Otherwise, you can end up having the colors bleeding all over the area where you actually don't want so much color, especially on this one where it's so light in the middle. You can also see that I have on the right side, right now you can't actually see it that much, but before you could see that I had this paper lying next to me with a lot of tests from the Inktense pencils. And that is because when you look at the pencil itself, it will look really dark. Almost all of them looks like they are black or really dark green, dark brown, really dark blue, or something else. You can't really see what color it is unless it's white. Um, and of course, you can look at the in the end of the pencil, but it's still not really enough to be able to know exactly what color you can expect when you put it down on the paper. So therefore, I always make these tests to be able to know when I pick a pencil exactly what I can expect when it comes down to the paper. And that is really something I will recommend you because it is so useful. So every time you buy a new set of pencils, you should make this kind of color samples where you also write the either the numbers or write the name of the color. Um, it's a little different. Sometimes there is only a number, sometimes there is both, sometimes there's only the name of the color. And unfortunately, it's not like all the different brands call the colors the same name. It would be so easy if the same color had the same name no matter which brand you bought, but it's not like that at all. You can expect whatever weird name. So, yeah, you can, of course, learn some of the um, names that is general. But you can't be sure to be able to match them to the different brands. Um, but at least if you just write down what it's called in the exact brand, you will be able to find it and also refill your stock when you run out. I've now changed to drawing the middle of the flower, the flowers. Um, so I've changed the color to kind of green and brown yellowish color, and I start a little lighter than it's actually pictured, but I will later add some darker color to make it more like it looks on the picture. Yeah, I think it's starting to look a bit like the picture showing. If you could actually see it now, there's lying tissue and pencils on top of it, so it's not that easy to see anyway. But you can still notice that I once in a while I brush my tip of the brush in the tissue to also when I'm changing from maybe the green to the violet, it's a good thing to put make sure there's no more violet left on the brush. And if you noticed here, I just taped down the paper, and that is because now I'm starting to make the background. And to do that, I will be adding a whole lot more water than I've done so far. So to prevent the paper to start buckling and completely bend when drying again, I tape it down to the table. Normally, I would actually use another surface to tape it to, but I didn't have one available at the moment because I have some other projects taped to the other draw boards I have. So for now, I just had to tape it to the table. I'm using this kind of low-tack tape so that it won't rip off the paper when I remove it. But still, I also always here you can see the numbers of the colors here, 830 and 840. The two blue colors I use for the background. But what I was saying about the tape, I always put it down on something. This time I used the table to put it down, rip it off, put it down again 2 to 3 times for each piece before I put it on the paper, because even though it's low tack, it can still sometimes be really annoying when you remove it. It ends up tearing your paper apart, and that is so frustrating when having have been working a lot of time and spending so much energy on doing a project, and then when you remove the tape, it's completely damaged. Um, I know that lots of people say, if you're just removing it really slowly and holding like this and only taking the tape really slowly off while you kind of, I don't know how to say that. You have to hold your finger on it and then pull through to yourself really slowly, but I'm not very good at that, so I just make sure that it's not gonna stick too hard to the paper. Yeah, I am just adding water to all this, and if you noticed, I didn't put very much pencil down on the paper before starting to make all this, the blue sky and the skies. So that is because you can easily put way too much color on, and I prefer to make layers instead. And now it has been drying for a while, so I will keep on working with the flowers a little bit because they are dry, but the rest of the paper is wet right now. So I decided to use some gouache in white, and that is from it's from Winsor and Newton, designer gouache, and I used that because I wanted it to be a little more bright and make the colors kind of fade into each other a little bit more. So I'm putting that on top, and you can use that because it's also water, a water-based material. So you can mix watercolors with gouache without any problems. I'm sorry if I'm sometimes looking for a word that I don't remember, but English is not my native language, and I'm sure you can hear that. So sometimes I'm having a little difficulties finding the right word. Sorry about that. But I hope you can understand me at least. Yeah, and now I'm adding some more of the blue color to the sky. And I also use a little bit gouache here and there. Remember when you are choosing your colors that it's never really important that you choose the exact same color as you see on the picture, or if you're looking at someone drawing from YouTube or something, you don't have to match the color exactly. It's more important to get the right value. So the light and dark are more important than actually picking the exact same color, or yeah. Um, so try to make the dark as dark as it should be on the picture, and the light as it should be. Or sometimes you can also choose to make everything a little bit different, but there should still be a contrast, because that's what makes the drawing really pop and look amazing. So if it's all kind of the same value, it's gonna look flat and boring actually. So to make things look more 3D, or like you are looking at something real, you have to be very accurate with the values, or the difference between the values, I would say. Yeah, I think I talked about I had to take a break, so I hope I'm not going to repeat myself. But you can see I'm working in layers here with the skies, and I slowly build it up to make it darker. I'm not sure I'm going completely as dark as on the picture, but you can still see the difference between the blue sky and the white skies and everything in between. It's You don't have to be very accurate. You can just build it up slowly, and kind of intuitive. Just what you think looks nice and right, then it's gonna look just fine. It's the most important thing is that it's not going to be something that looks in a specific shape, or very how should I put it, like you're trying to accomplish a specific shape on the skies, because they are just random. So try to be random when you put down the blue color. And if you feel that it's not looking perfect, you can put some white gouache on top of it, just to soften it. And now I decided, okay, it's done. So I take off this tape. You can see now how I do it, and I'm not perfect, but I managed to get it off. And this is it for now. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed my video here. I hope I'll be able to make another one soon. So goodbye for now.